Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm. My name is Jenny and today we're continuing on with the sort of Art Deco series, the outfits that I made for our trip to Napier the other weekend. Of course we're back now. We had a fabulous time and I'm just slowly working my way through all the footage that I took while I had that mad couple of weeks creating all the outfits that I took away with me. So today I'm talking about the sort of outerwear look that I put together. It's winter here, of course, we're in the southern hemisphere, so I didn't really need to pay that much attention to my daytime looks underneath my coat because for the most part we were just wandering around town. We went on a few tours, we did a few bits and pieces, but mostly we were walking around in our outerwear. So that's what I'm going to show you today. That mainly comprised of a sort of fur collar that I made to go over the top of my normal coat. And I did a bit of a sort of a special attachment system that I sort of came up with while I was making the collar so that I could put it on that coat but also take it off and put it on other garments in the future if I wanted to. And then I also had some accessories that I got together, which of course is not part of this make video. So I thought I'd just tell you about them now. So the first thing was that my daughter was fabulous and she lent me a pair of maroon gloves and a little maroon sort of spotty silk scarf to go on my handbag to sort of bring the colours together, because I had a maroon hat which I have had many years now and I originally bought in France. And I only wear it maybe once a year in Auckland because it just doesn't get cold enough. This hat has, I think it has rabbit fibre in the sort of the felt, and it is a very warm hat. But of course Napier is just that little bit colder than we have here up here in Auckland. So it was perfect. It had a really nice 20s vibe. So that was maroon. My coat is sort of brown and black and beige. So I sort of needed something to tie everything together. So my daughter very kindly lent me these maroon gloves and also a scarf to go on my handbag. The other piece I had was a vintage handbag. And I've had this handbag for a few years now. I actually spotted it in a charity shop and I was so pleased when I found it. It was definitely in need of some love and attention. The leather was quite dried out and it wasn't looking its best. So I brought it home and put loads of conditioner on it and sort of put a little bit of love and care into that leather to sort of bring it back to sort of its original colour and give it some sort of moisture really, because it was quite dried out. So I did give it an extra little polish before we went away with a neutral cream. So that was the handbag, which is true vintage, and I think probably comes from at least the 50s, maybe even the 40s, I would say, by the design of it. The other piece I had was sort of original little brown suitcase. Now this suitcase I have had, oh golly, I dread to think how long I have had this suitcase. I originally picked it up in a jumble sale a million years ago and I have kept it just because it's really useful to sort of put memorabilia and things in, and it just sits on the top of my cupboard in my bedroom. What's also up there is actually my old school satchel. So I keep my sort of old cases up there, if you like. So that seemed to be perfect, and because we were going just with hand luggage, we had a modern wheelie hand luggage piece which my husband took, but we only had the one. So I thought that this case would be perfect, and it was. It suited the vibe, and I got so many compliments on my little suitcase. People just don't maybe have those now, or maybe they just don't even think to travel with them, I don't know. But it really was the perfect case. It fitted all my stuff. It was amazingly spacious inside because of course they're really quite thin, you know, they're essentially just like a box, and it really sort of finished off my look, I felt. So when you see the final reveal at the end, you'll be able to see those different pieces and know a little bit about them. So this was mainly about the making of the collar and putting together of this sort of outerwear look. But also during the video I talk about my husband's outfits because he didn't really have anything to wear. He had the waistcoat that I made for him in a previous video. I'll put a link to it somewhere. and he really didn't have anything else to wear, so we actually managed to find a few things in a charity shop for him. So I'll just show you a little bit and talk a little bit about what we got for him as well. And we felt incredibly smart and just the part, so it was perfect. There will be at least 2 other videos in this series because I've yet to do my 1-hour dress make and also the velvet monstrosity make, so keep an eye out for those. Oh, by the way, subscribe, like, comment, all of those things. That would be absolutely fabulous, and then you'll be able to see the makes ongoing as they come up in the rest of this series. Oh, and also I am putting some pictures and bits of video over on Ko-fi as well, so if you'd like to see a little bit more about the outfits in the wild then maybe pop over to Ko-fi and have a little look at those. And of course, if you'd like to support my channel and what I do here, then there is that facility over on Ko-fi. Well, I should say thank you so much, Heather in Colorado. That was very much appreciated. So let's get on with the video and you can see how it all turned out. So yesterday we went to the charity shop because the husband was still short of anything to wear for the Winter Festival ball, and we absolutely lucked out. I mean, we really found some amazing stuff. So the first thing is, I don't know if you can see over here, let me bring it down. We found my husband a dinner suit. I mean, can you credit it? Charity shop, where was it? Mercy Hospice, I think. A beautiful, in his size, dinner suit. All the right lapels and everything. We think, looking at it, that it's an ex-hire company dinner suit because of the way the trousers seem to have been a little adjusted at the back, or they've got accommodation to adjust the back seam, presumably so that it could be adjusted a little bit to the person who was hiring it. So, but yeah, fits him perfectly. So we got the entire suit for $55, which I thought was pretty amazing for a dinner suit. And we have the trousers. Now the trousers, I mean, they're really nice trousers. You know, in a dinner suit you have that sort of stripe that goes down the leg. It's got that. But what makes me think that it is a, I can't really show you actually because I've worked out the adjustment. Essentially, I had them on him this morning to sort of pin through the amount that needs to come out the back. They are designed with a back seam all the way up, even in through the waistband. So it looks very much like these are designed to be taken in and taken out. So of course that does add to my sewing job list, but pleased with those. Okay, so the other thing I got was this. Now I think for my poire coat and the 1-hour dress, this sort of little fascinator jobby will be just the job, the sort of the headpiece, because when I'm looking at Phryne, she often will wear a sort of a fabulous little thing on the top of her head. The sort of the cartoon version, which is sort of round here, doesn't actually seem to be done that much. It seems to be more that they sort of had things in their hair from all the old photos that I've had a look at. So I know this is a modern fascinator, but I think it will do the job. And of course I have no hair, so it's very difficult to do any hairstyle that's sort of 20s like, if you like. So I think that is rather fab and will do the job. The other thing I got, now I got this the other day, which is a headband, a Demonte headband. And I thought, oh yeah, that could work because I could clip something to it. Well, in the same charity shop, would you believe, I found this amazing brooch. Beautiful Diamante brooch. Now it is missing a stone, it's got a couple of the leaves are missing on the brooch, but it doesn't matter. What I'm intending to do is actually pin that onto this headband. I've tried it out, it looks pretty good. So this is probably going to be the head adornment for the ball. And what I also found was my stash of Diamante, my diamonds, which is, I mean, these are ancient. I mean, just, this is so old. I mean, this I wore to a ball when I was 22, 23 maybe. So yeah, that I've got some bracelets that went with that, and then there are some earrings in here as well, some Diamante earrings. So I've got plenty of diamonds, and these Diamante pieces my daughters actually wore to their school balls as well. So I found them in the bottom of the jewellery box. I could have sworn that I'd got rid of these, but no. So that's really great because I can do a load of bling with that, hopefully. I also found this for $1, a whole roll of black satin ribbon. And I thought for $1 you can't go past that. I don't know if I'm going to need it for this project or whether I need it ever, but I just thought that's a useful thing for $1. So I took that. The other thing we found in this very same shop, these braces look to me like they are designed to go with that suit. There are no belt loops on the trousers. And so this is ideal to actually hold up the trousers, because the dinner suit trousers sort of seem to want to sit higher up than maybe a modern pair of trousers, which is all part of the look, and then these braces hold them up beautifully. There were also these braces in the charity shop as well, pale blue, lovely colour, just my husband's colour. So these he's going to wear with chinos and a sort of a flat cap, baker boy type cap for one of the other events. And he also found a coat. It's a sort of a rain jacket, but it's that more sort of traditional 3/4 Mac type look. So with his sort of felt trilby, is it? Some sort of felt hat. It's very sort of Jack Robinson out of Friar Fisher, I think. So he's got his walking around outfit, he's got his ball outfit, and he's got another couple of outfits that we can do with chinos. One wearing his waistcoat that I made. I'll pop the link to the video if you haven't seen that. And then the other one will just be the braces and a sort of a baker boy cap. So I think we've got everything we need now. So I just need to storm on with this sewing. This is Sunday. I only have a week and one weekend left to do this. Yes, there's a lot of making still to do. Well, I have to admit, I have so many projects in my sewing room. I'm not really quite sure where to start. I have now added two things to my list. So I'll have to put them on the board, because one of them is fix my husband's trousers or alter my husband's trousers. And then the other one is, having just put my winter coat on, the sleeves that I've rolled up, I think I need to unroll those and stitch them properly, so they need to go on the board as well. And of course my husband's trousers need to be done pretty high up the list actually, so I'm going to have to reorder it as well. So I have updated the board, and I'm hoping you can see that with this dodgy light. But anyway, we've got flapper dress alteration 1. I have finished that, so that actually, it's going to be better I think and more fun to actually cross it through. Yay! So that is complete. The next priority is now going to be my husband's trousers, because if he hasn't got any trousers to wear, we might cause a little bit of a stir at the ball. So he is going to need, I'm going to need those trousers alterations as number 2. That brings the fur collar into number 3. And the 1 hour dress then comes into 4th position. Now I've swapped this around a little bit. I think the velvet dress make is going to be number 5 now, and the fur stole is actually going to be number 6. However, I am cutting it out at the same time as the collar because that's all the same fabric. Then I need to do my sleeves. Then we're talking headbands. Okay, so that's my order at the moment. Let's crack on. I need to do these trousers partly because they're a priority, and secondly because my husband's working from home today, so I can stitch them up and then try them on him just to make sure I've got it right, and then that would be a job done, out the way, and he'd be good to go. So I'm doing all the unpicking, and it's got some nice sort of bias binding down the edge of this fabric. I think what I want to do is cut this fabric out. No, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the camera. I'm going to cut this fabric out because otherwise it'll be bulky down the around the bottom, which is not what we want. I'm going to reuse the bias binding and sort of make a nice job of it, because I can't imagine we're going to he's going to buy another dinner suit in any time soon, so I might as well make a good job of this, because he probably will wear this again to the summer ball that we have up here in October. So I don't think he's ever owned a dinner suit. Actually no, I think when he was a student he did have a dinner jacket from a charity shop, but since then he's not been the sort of man that has owned a dinner suit. So this I want to make a nice job of, essentially. There's a lot of unpicking to start with, I think, before we can start to put it together again. So we have just tried on the dinner jacket and it's perfect. The trousers fit like a dream, and with the braces I don't need to take them up. So that is awesome. So number 2, husband's trousers, tick done. Tick. That's complete. So on to fur collar 1 hour dress is probably the next make. Well, it's a filthy day outside. It's pouring with rain and howling with wind. So I've got a little window of time in my sewing room this evening. So I thought I'd have a go at sort of draping a collar for this coat of mine. Now, my cold has actually gone to my chest now, hence why I've got all this scarf on here, so bear with, still got a silly voice. Anyway, so this is the coat. Hopefully you can see. I'll pull Audrey out so you can see her. I thought first off what I'd try and do is just drape a sort of a pattern piece over and create the shape for my collar. I'm going to start with that to go down to there. Right, let's start. Okay. Right. Okay, so then this can come up here, get pinned there. Okay. So we sort of draped it up the front there. Now I'm going to have to draw in the lapel. So it's down to there. And then it's coming up here. This is where the lapel comes in and out. But I'm just going to round that, scoot round it. It's going to just come over the top because obviously that's more of a man's jacket thing. That's going to come up there like that. I'm going to cut this off because I think it makes it easier. So I'm just going to with extra. Right. That makes it easier, I think, to then coming around the corner, I'm going to pleat it up again here, like that. Pleat it up again like that, and then we're going to say, right, the centre of it is here. So that is the centre of the collar. Right. Just take that off for the minute. Because I think if the collar is sort of that long, that would be nice at the back. Now this other one will come down here and will cross over. But maybe that's a feature. Maybe I just cross it over and... How am I going to do that? So if I had this and then it just came down flat, straight like that. Sorry, you probably couldn't see what I was doing there, but I'm just thinking maybe if I make it this shape, so it comes down here and then goes straight down like that, then the other side would come round and then go straight down, because it would be so much easier to connect with a little hook and eye here. That's my plan, like that, because I think that way it's going to be easy to close. So the shape that I have now is a sort of a fairly weird, curvy shape. It's not straight, but yeah, two pieces like that hopefully shouldn't take too much of that fabric. There's obviously a bit of seam allowance on it, but I'm going to do minimal seam allowance because with that fur fabric, you know, there's no point in doing a sort of a deep seam allowance. It would be very thick. So I'm just going to draw this out now on a piece of paper, get the right pattern, add on some seam allowance, make the curves more beautiful, and then we will have the pattern for the collar. So this is half of the stole. I decided to put a centre seam in because I realised it was only, the fabric was only this wide. So that's one piece of the stole there. I've got to get another piece of the stole in mirror image, Then I've got to get 2 pieces of this bit that goes around the neck. This is the collar, my fur collar to go over my coat, and again that will have a centre seam. That has to run down. Both of them would have to run down. It would be weird, I think, if they were going in different directions. The other thing I need to check is, have I got any lining fabric? My lining fabric is up there, so I'm going to need to get the stepladder out and see what I've got. Hold that thought. Okay, this is a very old stepladder which I have had for years and years and years. It is a very clever thing because it actually is a step, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a step ladder, but it also, this bit comes up and it's an ironing board, and if you flip it right the way over, it's actually a chair. And I have used this in every single one of its guises. It probably should have a bit of a paint and a tidy up, but this is how I got it years and years and years ago. And it stayed like that, and you can see there's paint on it in various places as well, because it has been used for painting in various houses. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's see what lining fabric we have got. I mean, I think technically any fabric could be a lining fabric, couldn't it? But it sort of needs to be a bit slippy. That's just a really fine, lightweight cotton. Not terribly slippy, but would line that, I think. Maybe might go for the collar. I'm thinking that there are different sorts of lining needed, because on the collar I would want it to sort of stay once it's on. I don't really want it to shift about, because obviously it's designed to stay on the coat. Whereas with a stole, you sort of want it to slip over your shoulders. If a bit of this shows on the stole, it'll look interesting. If there's a bit of colour coming underneath the collar, it'll look strange. So the black would be for the collar, and this I think might be for the stole. Let's get on with placing the fur. I think that's the next thing. This is extremely tight, but I think I pretty much have all the pieces that I need on here. So I've marked all of the pieces out in chalk on the back of my faux fur, because it was so tricky trying to get all of the bits on, and they're all such weird shapes. I have actually managed to get all of it on now with like tiny tolerances. So the next thing to do is to find a really sharp scalpel blade, and then I just need to basically cut through the backing of the fabric but not affecting the fur on the other side. That's what I've seen on YouTube anyway, so let's hope it works. I've double checked and triple checked that everything is the right way up based on this nap pile. The collar's going to be a bit weird because of course the collar piece is like the back here and then comes around the front, so I've sort of done it so that the nap goes this way, but of course on the back of the neck it'll be going the wrong way, but it's quite a small piece, so I can but try. So let's start. Just a tip here, I found that if I put my fingers in the hole and hold it apart, when I cut, it's more effective and much easier and much quicker, and I'm just cutting the back, not the fur. So yes, holding it apart with my fingers and then moving down, that's the way to do it. If anybody is thinking of making a fur stole with some faux fur, that's the tip that I've just figured out and works quite well. It's the next day now. I did manage to cut out all of this fluffy fabric last night. It took quite some time, but I got a bit of a technique in the end. The curves were not easy. So I have managed to get out the 2 collar pieces, and then I have the 4 pieces for the stole. I'm quite pleased with it. Hopefully you get some idea. It's very soft. I like it. So I'm going to have to connect the backs together. The other thing of course I need to do is cut out the lining. I've only allowed like a really scant 5mm on the edge of this to sew up. I'm going to do a straight stitch. Well, this is the plan at the moment. Heavens knows it's going to work, but I'm going to do a straight stitch just to join them together, and then I'm going to do a zigzag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the lining fabric the same size as this, but then I'm going to turn over more of a seam allowance than I'm allowing on the fur. If this shifts just a little bit. It won't matter too much if there's more seam allowance on the lining. And then what I'm hoping to do is turn it inside out, and then hopefully the edges will roll a little bit in so that you don't see the lining, although the lining on this will be that black cotton, I think. Actually, slight change of plan. I've just been going through my scraps box and I have this little bit of black voile, but it's a little bit heavier weight than that other stuff. It's got a little bit more shine to it, but I think, yeah, it's a bit more robust. And also the other piece is a complete piece, whereas just to do this back of the lining, I don't want to cut into a complete piece, whereas this has already been used for something and is the leftover bit, so I'm going to use this instead. I have switched to my big pins. I have these big pins for sort of upholstery and things, because this fur is quite thick. I was trying my standard pins, but it's difficult to get in and out. I know people have clips on the internet and on YouTube, but I don't have clips. I've just got my bigger upholstery pins. I have my ordinary pins, glass head pins, and then I have my fine lacework pins. So these seem to be doing the job. Now let's try sewing it. Well, I'd like to say that wasn't as hard as I anticipated, but that's probably shooting myself in the foot. As it said on YouTube, you don't really see the seam. You will on this a little bit because, of course, the fur goes different ways on this back centerpiece. Now, of course, you can't iron this, so it'll just be what it'll be, and then I need to attach the lining. Hopefully I haven't spoken too soon. I'm going to try and do one half and then do the other half and sort of tuck it in as I go. Ah, nightmare. But I'm hoping the fluff will cover it all, and the underside you won't see anyway, so just keep going. I think I spoke too soon. Well, I have to say, that wasn't as easy as I imagined, or the YouTube videos make it out to be. I also put in some little tabs because I figured that once I turned it out, if I had little tabs, I could safety pin those tabs to the collar to sort of stop it shifting about. So it was technically attached to the coat. And just if I use safety pins, then I could move it to different jackets or pieces of clothing. So that's what I have done. I'm now just in the process of turning this through the right way and realised that actually I hadn't showed you what I've done. So this is how, oh, you can't see it, can you? Because it's dark and it's black. No, you won't be able to see it. But anyway, I have stitched all the way around there. I have zigzagged all the way around there, and I painstakingly went through and tucked all the fur out. There were a few places where it bunched up a little bit, and I had to unpick it and then re-stitch those bits. And it shifted, and it was, yes, a pain in the bum. But hopefully it's done now. I'm just turning one half through, and I was just about to turn the other end through. So I have my handy poker machine, and yeah, it's, hopefully I can turn this through and I can turn it out and go ta-da! Fingers crossed, because it has been more of a pain than I anticipated, but I'm sort of pleased that I've done it, because of course I will be doing the stole next, or well, in a few projects time. So I thought it was probably better to do this smaller piece first. Although, yeah, I don't know, small might have not been the ideal way to go. Probably bigger would have been easier. Anyway, we have done that, and I am now turning it through the hole I left in the centre back. Hopefully this will work as planned, and I will just be able to then whip stitch the thing closed in the centre. Right, because you can't press this, so you just have to hope that it will fall, it'll come out neatly. Right, okie dokie. So hopefully you can see these little tabs that I've put on here. Again, it's dark, so you possibly can't. But anyway, I've put little, out of the lining fabric, I made little tabs, because I figured if I sort of safety pinned it onto the jacket and then put that forward, it would hold it on. That was the plan anyway. Whether that will work, I don't know. But we do have what I would consider, hopefully, a collar. So, should we try it on? There! Collar! Ta-ta! Of course I'll have to put it on the actual coat, but I think with all the fluff and everything it's sort of fairly forgiving, hopefully. So, it needs to be, because the stitching is not ideal, but I think on the inside it looks quite neat. Again, you can't see because it's dark, it's black with this light on. It looks the part, I think, and then hopefully these tabs will do what I anticipate. They are actually sticking out here, but I think once I pin them to the coat and that's sat on the coat, I think it will hold on. So let's take it off the board. Okay. Oh, well, I do have to do that slip stitching on the inside, but I'm going to strike it off anyway, because I'm going to do the slip stitching now and it will be complete then. So, fur collar, make. Woo! Oh, that's so satisfying. I am enjoying that. I'm so glad I made a board. Right, I'm just going to slip stitch the inside and then that is complete. I shall try it on the coat and obviously show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with that. I have put it on the... It's not actually attached yet. So the idea of these tabs is that I can lift this, use a safety pin and safety pin it on here, and then it won't go anywhere. But at the moment I've just got it draped around and I haven't yet got the hook and eye on there either. I want to have a little hook and eye that can catch and connect there just to hold it on. So hopefully then if I take the coat off, the collar shouldn't come away from the coat and it will also connect quite nicely there. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm going to stop with the finishing now, because ideally what would be better is that I would need to put some little catch stitches to sort of just secure the lining to the outer fabric. You won't see it because it'll all, obviously all this fur will be over the top. But I just want to do some little catch stitches to keep the lining in the right place so that this sort of doesn't roll out and show the lining. But that's a little evening job maybe that I can do, although black on black, black thread on black things is not the best, and it's a little difficult. But I'm really quite pleased with that. It works nicely at the back, rolls round onto the collar. I think that's providing a really nice sort of 20s or Art Deco vibe, and then of course I will have my little sort of 20s hat on the top and a vintage handbag and leather gloves, and I'm hoping that is enough 20s vibe for walking around and looking the part. The other thing I must do is these cuffs, because this coat of course is a man's coat, and I think it's a man's coat. It's a sort of a slight oversized coat, and the sleeves of course are way too long, and I've just turned them up. I tend to wear them just like with a rolled up. I quite like the lining, and it sort of works. It's the right length for me, but it's not very vintage. So what I would like to do is actually take these sleeves up so that they're the right length, and then that going forward will be perfect because they'll be the right length, which is going to be better than this. So I must get onto that as well. But again, just a finishing job, low on the priority list. Coat sleeves alteration number 7, so further down. So I've done the fur collar. I'm just looking at the board next to you. I've done the fur collar. That was number 3. So moving on to number 4, and that's the 1 hour dress. That's next. So pleased with this. It's going to go on the finishing pile and on to the next project. Well, I'm seriously running out of time now. I'm racing, trying to finish all these little bits. So I'm on to doing the cuffs on my coat now. I'm hoping this shouldn't take too long. I'm literally just going to tack it up and then re-stitch the lining. I don't think it's going to be too... Let's have a look. Yeah, hopefully it shouldn't be too hard. She says. Right, let's get on with these sleeves and then we'll see where we are. At least that'll be one more thing finished. The coat then will be finished because the fur collar is done and then the sleeves are done. I've gotten basically my walking around town outfit tick. So that will be nice. Get the right glasses. It's been stitched twice. Oh, it'll be overlocked in there as well. Oh well. Okay, we have coat sleeves that are the right length. Woohoo! That's a job that I've been meaning to do for quite some time and have not got around to, but now I have, so I'm pleased with that. I shall be able to. It was nicer because having them rolled up, they were just a bit short, so I think those are a really nice length. I just need to give them a bit of a press and hang it back up on my wardrobe, and I'm ready to apply the fur collar.